coming up just now.
Yes.
The finishing is continuing, yeah.
So we have to go down to our place?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
Because we cannot describe this in 1 year.
Nothing.
So like you said, it's what that going on in the chamber. That's what we are doing.
We're coming up now. We're coming up now.
So let's go down.
Yeah, let's go downstairs. We don't need that anymore. Just, yeah.
Leave us because I come in lunch.
Okay.
I see you at least. One of them. Bring that. Okay. Let me tell Gasper, bring it closer to me. Okay, I see you. Like, okay, you're brushing it. Okay, I go to the. Okay, let me go to the. Instagram broadcast. Because now I'm starting the broadcast.
Pull up.
Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Prime Minister. Honorable Jeremiah Norbert, Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly. Members of Parliament and spouses. Members of the Diplomatic Corps. Ambassador George Talbot, Ambassador to CARICOM and Director, Multilateral and Global Affairs Department, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and I acknowledge Leader of the Opposition, of His Majesty's Parliamentary Opposition, welcome. Other members of the Guyana delegation, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Mr. President, it is my distinct honor on behalf of the members of this Parliament and on behalf of the people of St. Lucia to welcome you to this joint sitting of our Parliament. Your visit here today is more than a symbol of the warm and friendly relations that the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and St. Lucia have enjoyed since our independence 45 years ago. It is also a celebration and a reaffirmation of the deep fraternal bonds that have existed between our peoples for over a century. From the early decades of the 20th century, St. Lucians traveled to what they then called Demerara and BG to seek their fortunes in the gold and diamond mines of your country. They discovered more than precious metals. They found wives and husbands, raised families, and built a St. Lucian community in the interior of your vast and beautiful country. Today, there is a St. Lucia in the mining town of Madia, I hope I pronounced it correctly, in the heart of Guyana, where one of our more famous and popular cultural traditions, the La Rose Flower Festival, is still celebrated, as it is also observed in that other mining town of Linden. My own father and his brother traveled to Guyana to mine gold and diamond, and my family was sustained for years on the income of Guyana's famous mineral. And evidence A, Your Excellency, my father's passport from Guyana. My uncle to this day continues in the mining business. Mr. President, I hold many fond memories of intriguing and heartwarming experiences relayed by my father of his time spent in places like Koropong and the Mazaroni River. It was through these accounts from my childhood that I first came to know of the hardworking, resilient, and welcoming nature of Guyanese. By the time St. Lucia gained its independence in 1979, many of the children of early St. Lucian immigrants to Guyana had begun returning to the island home of their parents, so that today there are industrious communities of Guyanese in St. Lucia, making an important contribution to the country. The long-established Guyana-St. Lucia Association is a testament to this. As fellow members of the Caribbean community, St. Lucia is committed to working together with Guyana on the challenges facing the community, in particular, that of food security and climate change. And St. Lucia, with other Caribbean states, will continue to support and defend the territorial integrity of Guyana, as it has always done since it assumed responsibility for the conduct of its external affairs at independence 1979. And it is in this context of cooperation within CARICOM and in tribute to our historical friendship that one welcomes recent initiatives to expand trade and economic relations between Guyana and St. Lucia. Your visit to St. Lucia on this auspicious occasion will no doubt serve to strengthen these ties. Mr. President, you have assumed the leadership of your country at a most propitious time in its history. The recent discovery of vast energy resources in Guyana have led to a forecast that the economy will grow by an unprecedented 28.9% in 2024 and by another 19.7% in 2025. According to the World Bank, the country is expected to remain one of the fastest growing economies with double-digit growth rates in 2023 and 24 as additional oil fields start operation. A prediction of such impressive economic development means that the country must have as its helm leaders who are capable of astutely managing this rapid economic growth for the benefit of the people of the country. Mr. President, you have been called to the head of your country's government at the right moment in its history, and I believe you will nobly answer that call. Permit me, therefore, to quickly recap your biography. His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali was sworn in as Guyana's 9th Executive President on August 2nd, 2020. Dr. Ali is one of 2 sons of his parents who are both educators. He was born on April 25th, 1980, into a Muslim Indo-Guyanese family at Leonora, West Coast, Demerara. His early education started at the Leonora Nursery and Primary Schools and progressed to the Cornelia Ida Primary School, while he completed his secondary education at St. Stanislaus College in Georgetown. Dr. Ali is a holder of a doctorate in urban and regional planning from the University of the West Indies, a Master of Arts degree in manpower planning, a postgraduate diploma in international business, a postgraduate certificate in finance from Anglia Ruskin University, an LLM degree in international commercial law at the University of Salford, and a Bachelor of Arts degree honors in business management from the University of Sunderland. He was also a member of the Canadian Institute of Management up to 2017 and a project management professional, PMP, 2006. He previously served as project manager of the Caribbean Development Bank's Project Implementation Unit in the Ministry of Finance and senior planner in the State Planning Secretariat. He became a member of the National Assembly of Guyana in 2006 and was subsequently appointed to the portfolios of Minister of Housing and Water and Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. During his lifetime at the Ministry of Housing, he implemented the most extensive endowment campaign in the history of the country, backed by a massive distribution of lots to citizens of all social strata and geographic regions. In the National Assembly, Dr. Ali was also a leading spokesperson on the economy and finance. He served as chair of one of the most important committees, the Public Accounts Committee, and co-chair of the Economic Services Committee of the Parliament of Guyana. Mr. President, it is now my pleasure to invite you to address this joint sitting of Parliament of St. Lucia. This is a historic moment as it is the first such address by a visiting CARICOM heads of state to our Parliament. Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, His Excellency Mohamed Ofan Ali.
President of the Senate, our Deputy Speaker, Honorable Prime Minister, distinguished Leader of the Opposition, Members of Parliament, and of course, a dear friend, a long-standing friend of Guyana, Dr. Anthony. I must recognize your presence. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, I must thank Prime Minister Pierre for your invitation, and I must say I'm delighted to be here in this beautiful country that shares an extraordinary relationship with Guyana. The relationship between Guyana and St. Lucia transcends the boundaries of trade, economy, and systems. More importantly, the relationship is shaped by history, culture, friendship, and importantly, as you rightfully said, family. The relationship is deep-seated as it is blood in nature. Many St. Lucians and Guyanese share the same blood, the same parentage, the same heritage. And that for me speaks to a bond that is unbreakable. That is why for us, it is not strange that St. Lucia continues to support Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and that St. Lucia stands strongly with Guyana in defense of our territorial integrity and sovereignty. I'm therefore honored to attend and to address the National Assembly of St. Lucia. I congratulate the government and people of St. Lucia on the 45th anniversary of its independence. I'm delighted to be in this beautiful country as it celebrates this auspicious anniversary. I bring best wishes on behalf of the government and people of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and the Caribbean community, which I presently chair. The ties that bind Guyana and St. Lucia are stronger than the distance that separates us. Guyana and St. Lucia are members of the Caribbean family. We share ties of blood and history. St. Lucia has planted its roots in my country. St. Lucians came to prospect for gold and diamonds in Guyana. During the colonial era, many stayed and made Guyana their home. For a matter of fact, in some of the mining communities, they introduced cocoa and took to farming and helped in the development of agriculture also in our country. Those ties extend to our common family, the Caribbean community. Despite the disparities in size, we both share similar vulnerabilities within this region and also in our externalities. We are both affected by climate change, the effects of which, as we know all too well, can be devastating. Both Guyana and St. Lucia are also vulnerable to unfavorable changes in international markets. Our countries are negatively affected by the changes to the European Union's trade regime with our region in the first decade of this century. These changes impacted adversely the banana growing sector in St. Lucia and sugar in Guyana. In many respects, we are still traveling in the same boat to a common destination. Independence set us off on that journey to fulfill the aspirations of our people, to be in charge of their own destiny, and to dispel underdevelopment, relegate poverty, and give our people the good life. These were the same aspirations which held sway across the Caribbean during the decolonization process, including upon Guyana's independence on the 26th of May 1966, and St. Lucia's 13 years later on the 22nd of February 1979. However, independence, far from being a singular event confined to a specific date in history, is a dynamic and ongoing process that embodies the aspirations and ambitions of a nation. Independence is a journey marked not only by a solitary moment of achievement, but by a continuous pursuit of development, progress, and self-determination. Indeed, independence for any nation represents the liberation of a nation from foreign control. But more importantly, it also signifies the unleashing of the boundless energy and potential of its people. Independence represented a call to action, a commitment to harnessing the collective will of the people. Independence, in this sense, transcends mere symbolism. It is a living, breathing aspect of national life that propels us forward in our quest for a more just, equitable, and prosperous future for and by the people. It is therefore fitting, as we commemorate this special milestone in St. Lucia's political, economic, and social development, that we fortify the ramparts of independence and work towards the fashioning of a united, resilient, and inclusive nation and region. In contemplating how St. Lucia can consolidate its independence and pave the way for a prosperous and sustainable future, I wish to look at some common issues that we face today and to look at ways in which both Guyana and St. Lucia can jointly navigate these challenges and bring benefit and opportunities to the people of our two countries. Before I go into this aspect of my brief presentation, and you can tell me when my time is up, I wish to point to some numbers to give you the basis on which our work should build upon. In the last 10 years, when you look at our trade numbers, Guyana would have exported to St. Lucia commodities to the tune of $71 million US. And interestingly, St. Lucia would have exported to Guyana products to the tune of $79 million US. So despite the size, the trade imbalance for Guyana was that St. Lucia exported $79 million US to Guyana, and we exported $71 million US to St. Lucia. So when you look at the aggregate level in the last 10 years, you would see that your exports to Guyana exceeded Guyana's export to St. Lucia. However, if you look at your existing housing market, and let us say, conservatively, you have a deficit in the housing market of 2,500 homes in the next 3 to 5 years. That is the immediate need, the medium-term need. And you use a conservative figure of $30,000 for a low-income home. That is what we are building, prefab homes in Guyana. You're looking at a export potential of $75 million in the immediate and medium term from Guyana to St. Lucia. That export potential in this one area alone is more than a combined export in the last 10 years. And these are the opportunities, the real opportunities that exist in expanding the relationship and expanding the trade between Guyana and St. Lucia. How do we use this sector, for example, this one example, to create wealth, to build opportunity, to build a skill level, and to integrate our manufacturing with a housing solution in St. Lucia? These are things that I think offers immediate opportunity for the private sector and for us as policymakers to create the enabling environment that would allow this opportunity to become a reality. We also face the challenge of human transformation. Today, the world is moving apace, whether it is AI, robotics, digitization. We are now catching up on modernization and industrialization, and the world has now gone past that to digitization. So our human asset, our human resource transformation must also address the changing circumstances or the changing global environment in which our human asset must operate. In fact, the human transformation and digitization is linked to economic transformation if we are to broaden our economic base. As chair of CARICOM, there are some opportunities that exist globally that we must take advantage of. For example, the whole issue of creating nearshoring jobs, where we can upskill our human resource asset to have higher paying jobs right here at home, servicing multinationals across the world. So what we are seeing in many developing countries is a retooling and reskilling of our human resource asset to meet the needs of major corporations internationally, creating nearshoring jobs in the fields of accounting, auditing, research and development, pharmaceuticals. So these are opportunities that we now have to work on in retraining, retooling, rebranding our human asset to meet this new need. That, of course, requires us to rethink the education sector and to retool the education sector, to look at our curriculum, to look at what we are producing, and to see whether there is a match or mismatch between the output of the education system as what is needed in a new economy and a new world in which we are living. Digitization, of course, would bring systemic changes. For us to remain competitive, for us to remain relevant in the world that we live in today, we have to adapt to the changing environment. Government must become more efficient. We are faced with this challenge, all of us in the region. Government must become more efficient. The time to deliver service must be significantly shortened. Services is no longer delivered from an office. The population must be able to get that service from their homes. Even the diaspora must be able to get the services of the country from wherever they are. So we must now look at digitization and the changes that is required for us to keep abreast with the way the world is moving. Then we have the issue of climate mitigation and adaptation. It is not only financing that is the issue, it is how we build a society, how do we build an economic structure that allows everything we do to be sustainable and resilient. So for example, if you look at St. Lucia, you have an import bill, food import bill, of an average maybe of about 2,345 metric tons per annum. That is the food that you import. If we look at some of the food that you import, and to see how we can create local production system to eliminate those imports, then you would see that it is not that of a daunting task. And if we apply climate financing, because food security is part of resilience, food security is part of adaptation, then you will see that to replace these imports with a technology that is relevant and suitable, that is shade houses and hydroponics facility, you would require 51 shade houses at a size of 3,600 square feet each. That is square foot in a square footage language, square footage space of 183,600, which means that you require about 4.5 acres of land of hydroponics. 4.5 acres of land of hydroponics, which help you in terms of climate, pest control, and all of these things, gives you resilience and sustainability. And by this investment, you can reduce your food import bill and save foreign exchange by almost 70%. With this one investment in St. Lucia. In Guyana, we have adopted a model that in creating agro-business opportunities, innovative agro-business opportunities, using technology, using research, using innovation, we said that we want 35% of all the new agro-businesses to be owned by women and young people. 35% of all the agro-businesses to be owned by women and young people. What this does is that it allows a rethinking of agriculture. It allows a rethinking of the opportunities that exist in agriculture. And in allowing this rethink, you have new capital that comes in. You have new technology that comes in. And you have a renewed interest. It is not, agriculture is a part of a system, and the system is food production. Agriculture is part of food production, and it is building the entire ecosystem around agriculture that would help us to focus on this objective. And that is why in CARICOM we are pursuing the 25 by 2025 objective. And all of us, if you look at the numbers in St. Lucia in the last 3 years, we have seen improvement in the productivity, improvement in production, and expansion in agriculture. And that is commendable as we work towards achieving the 25 by 2025. If you look at another opportunity that exists in agriculture, that is your fish imports. You import close to 1,500 tons of fish, and poultry, $12 million of import in poultry annually. These are things, if we build consortiums between St. Lucia, the St. Lucia private sector and the Guyanese private sector, that we can resolve within the region. This import can occur within the region. This business can be developed within the region. These opportunities can be catalyzed within the region. The wealth can be created within the region, and both St. Lucia and Guyana will benefit, and the region will benefit as a whole. What we need to do is to work out the mechanism through which the bureaucracy is removed, through which the barriers are removed, and through which there is a commitment and political will and bureaucratic will, because sometimes the political will is not followed by the bureaucratic will. You have good policies that are announced, but the bureaucrats sometimes do not work in ensuring those policies are successful. And that is what we have to do. We have to approach these issues from a holistic perspective if we are to realize the full potential of these opportunities. So in the area of food security, creating a regional food hub. So Guyana, we're not working to link northern Brazil to Guyana. If you look at the opportunities that exist in northern Brazil in terms of food production, raw food, one of the disadvantages that we had in Guyana was the cost of energy. Because the cost of energy was inhibitive to processing, agro-processing, manufacturing, industrial development. By next year, the cost of energy will reduce by 50%. That makes us a very competitive destination now for agro-processing. How is it we can build a regional food hub in such a way that it connects St. Lucia not only for your own needs, but for St. Lucia to become a distribution hub? That is a type of model we have to build. That is a type of co-investment that the private sectors must make. That is a type of joint operation that the government of St. Lucia and the government of Guyana is committed to in ensuring that we create these opportunities. If you look at other issues that we are faced with, so we are faced with food security, we are faced with the issue of energy security, we are faced with the issue of climate change, but we also have to ensure that we build a technological platform that drives innovation and improves efficiency. The fact of the matter is that we are all too small to have different technology and different platforms operating in the region. We're going to get back to the same problem if we do not operate on a common platform. If every country in the region is operating on a different technological platform, then integration becomes more difficult. The coexisting of systems becomes more difficult. So I think on the issue of technology, we must have a common approach, a common agenda through which we build a platform that meets the region's requirement and that the entire region can work on a singular platform. On healthcare interdependence, this is another important issue. We in Guyana today, we are building a healthcare system that we want to be world-class. But this system is not built for Guyana. We have said it before, that the prosperity that Guyana is seeing today must be the prosperity that the entire region enjoys. So we are going to build a healthcare system that can support the regional healthcare system. How is it that we ensure the integration of your healthcare system with our healthcare system? So as I speak to you now, we are working on a program that allows telemedicine to be operable in the hinterland of Guyana, linked to the best hospitals, and also linked now to India, the US, major hospitals out of India and the US. I think there's an opportunity for us to link your hospitals, your health centers, your healthcare system with our healthcare system so that we can exchange ideas, we can exchange thoughts, we can share knowledge. But more importantly, the way healthcare is, the direction healthcare is going in, is that robotics is now used a lot in surgeries, in the healthcare system. So you can have a specialist operating out of Guyana or St. Lucia or India, helping surgeons in our small economies, in our small healthcare system, in their work. Then it makes no sense for all of us to build specialization in every area. That is why in Guyana we're investing And we're giving incentives to the private sector to have specialized care in almost all the areas, so that the region needs, this region specialized need in health care can be taken care of in Guyana as a fraction of the cost that we are paying outside of the region now. And that is the direction in which we are going with our healthcare system. The same we can say for education. So my position is that in this region, the integration that we want to achieve must come from systemic integration. And systemic integration requires our education system to be integrated, our healthcare system to be integrated, our technological platforms to be integrated, and this helps to resolve an important issue. Connectivity is not just the movement of people and goods and service. Connectivity is also the movement of ideas, the movement of policies, the movement of systems, the integration of systems. And connectivity must be able to address all of this if we are to build a seamless system. So I think as we celebrate one day apart, our independence and our republic, that we can start by connecting our two countries, by ensuring that St. Lucia and Guyana, with a historical connection that we have, a connection of family, of blood, that we can start by building this model out, that the region can be integrated and the region can be a part of. So as I said before, we also must work together on security. We face common threats. How are we going to share our technology in terms of security? How are we going to adopt new technologies in terms of security? It makes no sense for all of us to buy a different software and we have to pay annual fees, when we indeed have the capability to build indigenous systems for ourselves that can help us, that can make our security interface, architecture, and ecosystem agile, so that we can integrate and coexist in a better way. These are some of the things I believe that would allow us to take our relationship to new levels, that would allow us to demonstrate to the private sector that we are serious about creating opportunities for them, to demonstrate to the private sector that we are ready to create an enabling environment, that we are ready to create a conducive environment, that we are ready to support their expansion by making it easier for them to do business. We have to face the same difficulties that those that are not part of the region don't face. If you look at the time it takes to open a bank account in the US versus the time it takes to open a bank account in the region, it's chalk to cheese. It's chalk to cheese. And then we speak about, that there is no disparity in the system. There is systemic disparity. There is systemic disparity. And the only way we can address systemic disparity is if, as a region, we stand up against systemic disparity. Slavery was defeated because we came together as a community, as a people, as regions together, and fought the system of slavery. We have to fight the system of inequality. Only yesterday, in an interview with a major news agency, I made the point that in the last 65 years, the world has lost more than 60% of its biodiversity. This region and Guyana, we have kept our biodiversity. But what did we get? Is it valued? Is there a value attached to it? Is there a pricing mechanism? If the cry of the world and all the organizations is that we must keep our biodiversity, we must secure our maritime asset. Yes, it's an asset. If it's an asset, it carries a value. Then let's value the asset and ensure that the countries who are keeping the asset are paid for keeping that asset. That is a fair system. Yes, we have responsibility. So too the countries that destroy their environment, that destroy the forests in the era of industrialization, they have responsibilities too. They had responsibility and they still have responsibility. We're talking about energy transition, when 36% of the world's energy still come from coal. The first objective should be, how do we get those who are on coal off of coal? 36% of the world's energy still come from coal. So we have to be very careful that we are not entrapped in some debates, some global debates, in which there is severe inequality in the premise from which the debate commences. It's important. We are all for renewable. We are all for going green. But who is financing it? The capital cost for going green. Who is going to deal with the energy poverty that exists for tens of millions of people globally? These are the challenges. These are the questions that are not answered. These are the questions that are not answered. But we have a responsibility. This region has a responsibility to stand up together on all of these matters. On all of these matters. I want to also recognize in St. Lucia that we have had, I look at the parliament here, it's a nice table. I don't know if you have any Guyanese around the table. But I mean, with 5,000, an approximate population of 5,000, I think we can carry some influence. But it is the integration. It is the integration, and that integration is key, because what that integration did was to allow Guyanese to invest here with comfort. Today, I think you have Barn Foods. They are part of the economy here. They create great value here. We have Respirera, create great value here also. Recently we had to get him back for a few days to do a coaching symposium. And of course you have one of our good footballer, Christopher, here also. So these are a few of the many Guyanese who would have added value to St. Lucia. Yes. Yeah, so and of course you have oil. You have oil Bosque here. Yes, so we have integrated well here in St. Lucia. But I think one of the important things is that we share democratic values. And this is important for every society. We must ensure that our democratic values remain intact. We must ensure that our adherence to the rule of law and international law remains intact. And we cannot, one of the big issues that the world is facing today is the hypocrisy. We cannot change based on self-interest or survival. If we are sticking to principles, we're sticking to principles. If we're sticking to values, we're sticking to values. And if we want ceasefire in one area, We must have ceasefire in every area, because one life lost in war is too many lives lost in war. And we must not be afraid. We have never been a region that is afraid to speak on the side of humanity, on the side of justice, on the side of principle. It's difficult. It is not an easy road to traverse, especially when those with great influence, those with great influence can create problems. At the end, if we are always on the side of justice and principle, we'll always be on the right side of history. The reward may not be immediate, but in the end, we'll be on the right side of history. And that is what this region has always been respected for. Always standing up on the right side of history and being on the right side of history. So today, I want to say that our country, Guyana, and I say our country, Guyana, because it's part of our region, is open for investment. There are tremendous opportunities coming our way. Yes, double-digit growth rate, projected growth rate, well, we just completed growth rate of 40% previous year, close to 60%, and growth rate in the upper 20% in the coming years. But how do we ensure that the region is integrated into the economic expansion of Guyana? And that is a conversation we are willing to have. How do we use this opportunity to create energy security for the region, to build a platform through which the entire region must enjoy energy security? How do we use this opportunity to ensure that we enable the region to become food secure, to end malnutrition and hunger? And it is a problem in the region. Malnutrition and hunger is an important issue that we must tackle. The growing population, especially among children, that are becoming obese, leading to health-related issues. How are we going to tackle that? How do we work on integrating our system so that all the people of our region would have a baseline access to health care? We're not saying everyone will have the same access. Societies are not structured that way. But how do we set a model, a baseline that every citizen must enjoy? A level of service in water, health, education, infrastructure, recreation that every citizen must enjoy. We have enough resources within the region to set those targets, those baseline targets, and work towards having every citizen of the region enjoy those targets, so that all the citizens of the region can live a decent and prosperous life, and they can retire in dignity. And they can retire in dignity. That is important. Retirement in dignity is much more than your pension. Retirement in dignity is your ability to be in your own home, your ability to be in a safe environment, your ability to be in an environment in which your social needs are taken care of. And that is what is retirement in dignity. And I think this must be the focus of all of our countries within the region. Before I close, I want to say that we cannot make the mistake of building our economy on oil and gas. That would be disastrous. That is why we are positioning ourselves to be a leader on food, climate, and energy. We are already the leader on forests globally. Our forest stores 19.5 gigatons of carbon. The forest is the size of England and Scotland combined, with the lowest deforestation rate. But here in St. Lucia, we must also work towards economic diversification. And we must look at the low-hanging fruits. I know, Prime Minister, we have been discussing what are some of the low-hanging fruits. And one of the low-hanging fruits, I think, is how we can develop through agro-innovation and agro-business industry here that supports the local economy and support value addition for the hotels, the resorts. Because we must apply a level of social responsibility for the hotels and resorts to buy produce and product that we are producing locally, especially fresh vegetables, leafy vegetables, fruits. And if we work out the backward and forward linkages in the food industry, the agro-business sector, I think it can become an important part of the economic diversification and be profitable for investors and for St. Lucia. The other low-hanging fruit, I believe, based on our geographic space, is upskilling of our human resources. How do we upskill our human resources, our young people, to benefit from nearshoring jobs, from opportunities in nearshoring, from high-value jobs, whilst being here? It is these innovative ideas that requires additional fiscal incentives that would allow a shift in focus, because the environment help in the shift in focus. And I believe that if we create that environment, we can add to the value chain here in St. Lucia and diversify the economy. We must use the strength of the economy to diversify the economy. And if the strength of the economy is tourism, then we have to look at the value addition to tourism as a tool to diversification. Food production, customer care. If we have Sandals operating in the island, and Sandal has an accounting services, I don't know if they have, I'm just saying, that is outsourced, then how do we get them to say, we're going to train 25 young people, we're going to get them certified to the level of certification you want? How do we get them to provide that service for you from here in St. Lucia? Upskilling them, investing in them, so they can provide that service. These are the things that we are working on. And these are the things that I think we can help to share experiences on. Because, as I said, we see our prosperity as a region's prosperity. You can rely on Guyana, you can count on Guyana, and know that in Guyana you have a friend and a partner in your development and in your advancement. I thank all of you, and God bless you.
Permit me to adopt a protocol that has been established, but I would like to recognize the presence of the President of the Cooperative of Republic of Guyana, Your Excellency Dr. Mohamed Ifan Ali, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Honorable Philip Joseph Pierre, and the President of the Senate, Honorable Alvina Reynolds. On behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia, Mr. President, we'd like to thank you for your message to this honorable joint sitting of the Senate of the House of Assembly in observance of our 45th independence anniversary. We are honored that you took time not only to come to St. Lucia, but also to grace us with your presence in this honorable chamber. The Cooperative Republic of Guyana and St. Lucia have always observed cordial relations. Indeed, many St. Lucians left our shores in the 50s, in the 60s, and in the 70s to earn a living in your country. In fact, you would have heard Madam President inform us that there is a community in Guyana named after our island, and that several of our cultural traditions are alive and well in that community. Mr. President, much would have already been said by my colleague, Senate President, about your country. Rather than repeat what has been said and what may be said in your meetings with our cabinet later, allow me to give you a particular reassurance. We have no Trinidad and Tobago night riders in St. Lucia. Consequently, I want to assure you that there will be no debate during your time here on whether it is curry chicken or chicken curry. As our honored guests, you have the full liberty of making your choice. Once more, a warm welcome to our island, and thank you for your address.
All rise.
Well, welcome to the National Television Network. We've just come to the conclusion of the address by the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. He was in a joint sitting. He addressed a joint sitting of Parliament, the lower house and the upper house, the Senate and the House of Assembly, the parliamentarians. And what an address it was. Michael, welcome, as well. It's nice to have you back here. But his address really spoke on regional integration. He spoke on the prosperity of Guyana, and he mentioned that Guyana's prosperity is the prosperity of the region. He said that St. Lucia has a friend in Guyana. He spoke on strengthening the bilateral cooperation with St. Lucia. He expounded on different areas that the two countries could share. But before that, he had spoken on the historical ties that the two countries share. And prior to that, we had the opening by the Speaker or the Deputy President of the President of the Senate, Mrs. Alvina Reynolds. Maybe you could take it from there, Michael?
Merci un peu, Virgil. Je suis bien content pour me défiler ici pour accompagner encore cette bienvenue pour station télévision NTN et aujourd'hui nous on est regardé en session côté ni Sénat là et avec un site normalement il can jouer normalement à part mais aujourd'hui il can jouer ensemble pour jouer ensemble pour une commission par président de lycée Excellence, président Guyana, Mohamed même pour dire non bien, puisque c'est non, c'est exactement non, c'est lycée Eufan Ali, c'est Mohamed Eufan Ali, c'est lui qui est président en Guyana, avec il joue une invitation par le Premier ministre Saint-Lucie, avec le gouvernement Saint-Lucie pour venir participer à l'occasion indépendance, là c'est 45e indépendance Saint-Lucie. Comment veut-il dire nous là, l'adresse lycée Excellence Eufan Ali, c'était une adresse qui était fort tout bonnement, fort en science là qui il parlait qu'on nomme région, ça c'est, il pas parler qu'on Jean Guyana seulement et qui pas mêlé avec l'instant. Normalement, en chaque pays, a commencé, comme il découvert l'huile en Guyana, il n'a pas mêlé avec l'instant région. Mais nous passons à dire ça. Manière président Ali parlait, il est d'accord qui prospérité et bien n'importe ça Guyana qui ni à présent n'importe l'avantage il voulait séparer tout ça et puis rester en région avec en toute parole vous êtes bien content il parlait d'une manière il voulait pousser région devant avancer région etc. Il parlait d'agriculture en chaque à son manière pour servir l'agriculture manière pour pousser technologie, manière santé, il dit qu'il y a un faire avancement pour oui, dans affaires santé, avec il voulait toute région jouer un bénéfice là, avec ça pour moi, il touchait un chaque monde avec Mgawe, un chaque monde en disant, il était capable de tous ces dignitaires, tout le monde était là, puisqu'il parlait bien fort pour un homme qui vraiment your mom is sorti a color.
Yes, he sounded like an integrationist, you know. And one of the things he mentioned, he said that as a region, the region needed to stand up against certain disparities in the world because he said there were disparities. And he said the region must never be afraid and has never been a region. We have never been a people. We have never been a people to push, to be afraid. We have never been a people afraid of pushing back and speaking against certain injustices. He said, though it's a difficult thing to navigate, but history would prove the region right when you stand on the side of right. But it was interesting, and as you said, his address, I think, was well received by all the members, the diplomatic corps, the dignitaries, even the parliamentarians, both on the government side and the opposition. He was well received, his ideas, he shared ideas on how the region could expand in the different areas you mentioned, health, education, and even the digitalization. He spoke about retooling and re-equipping young people in the region to take on the best jobs. But all in all, this was the session. It was well attended. It was truly an auspicious occasion in commemoration of our 45th independence anniversary celebration.
D'accord. Avec il même dit, plus tard aujourd'hui, il a eu un meeting, il a mis un déjeuner avec ça, un meeting, et puis cabinet Saint-Lucie, il a joué plus tard, et qui a aussi joué, et puis ça c'est chambre de commerce Saint-Lucie qui a joué, et puis il a parlé, puisqu'il peut-être, il a eu plus assurance à ce société là, manière, il a fait plus investissement en Guyana, avec Guyana fait en Saint-Lucie aussi, avec il est capable qu'il a resté en Saint-Lucie pour célébrer l'indépendance de demain, il est capable comme ça, puis c'est vraiment ici, comment on dit, guest
Yes.
pour Tanzania.
Yes, so all in all, this is what has transpired here this morning. Truly an auspicious occasion. And on behalf of the entire team, my name is Lucia Leonti.
Michael Gaspar, nous avons dévié en station de télévision NTN pour avoir plus de détails sur ce qui s'est passé pour l'indépendance. Merci un peu. Nous sommes bien contents